This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk about bass fishing. Back for another full week of shows. Yesterday had some business to attend to. I think I get the truck back either today or tomorrow. I've actually been rolling in a convertible Mustang for the last 17 days now. I did the old hydroplane a month or two ago, if you guys remember from listening, and then truck had to go into the shop, which it's amazing how much damage running over 11 poles on the side of your truck and a highway divider can do to a truck. But looking forward to getting that back, which means I can get the Bass Cat back out of the garage. I can get ready for my final Bassmaster Open of the year, which is coming up on Leech Lake in 2 weeks. But before that, there is a ton of fishing to take place. There's back-to-back opens this week, Chesapeake Bay, then they go up to Thousand Islands. The MLF Invitational is currently at Thousand Islands. We have all sorts of schedules that are out for the Elite Series, for the BPT, for the Invitationals. The Invitational season comes to an end. We will kind of know after this upcoming week if I cannot find in any of my research a top level tour. You know, there's a lot of father and sons out there. That's been well documented, but a father and two sons with the potential for Mitchell, Marshall, and Marty Robinson, I think, to all be a part of one of the top tours, which is really cool. He's in really good position to do that heading into the final one. And then we've got all of the ICAST stuff. We're going to go over that more in depth later today. The Best on Tour this week episode presented by Best on Tour will be out with Dave Rush, where we'll kind of break down a lot of the stuff that happened over at ICAST. But we're going to get right into the show today. One of the major announcements that came out, called Joe Pogger. I know that MLF was doing some of their things are about to change, things that I'm like, a bunch of stuff going on with all the different leagues. And I called him and I said, hey, I want to be on the forefront of this. I want to do a show on this. And then on July 14th, the press release came out that says BUBBA, which I got it right here. It's this little red scale. Now this is like the $100 version of the BUBBA, not the $250 version. BUBBA and Major League Fishing launched SCORETRACKER live tournament platforms for all anglers and organizations, live beginning in spring 2026. And quite frankly, this got my wheels turning because one of the cool things that I've done for the last couple of years with some of my other buddies from the area is we all meet up. It's not a tournament. We get on the water and we take pictures of our phone of our biggest fish. We weigh them on the BUBBA, and then we all come back and we have a bragging rights tournament to see, who caught the biggest. And I was like, this might have some opportunities. And then we're launching Crappie Talk Live in the fall. And I was like, well, maybe we could do catch and release crappie tournaments through it. And then it reminded me of back when I fished with the Podunkers Fishing League back in 2019, 2020, right back when FLW was purchased by Major League Fishing. They had they were trying to get everybody to understand how the catch, weigh, release worked. It's hard to believe that that's over 5 years ago now, a half decade ago. And there was an app that MLF had come out with, and then you buy the scales, and then you have a partner in the boat and you weigh your fish, and then you go into your phone and then you add it to that. And then a tournament organizer, it was like a 6-step process, but it was kind of cool. But that kind of went away. So I called Joe and I said, hey, what is this? And then the press release came out, and we put together a pretty cool show. We have the VP of operations, who's been in the industry for decades, a familiar name to probably a lot of diehard tournament anglers, anybody who's fished Major League Fishing or FLW events over the past 20 years, Dave Washburn. And then we got kind of the brains behind this operation from what I can gather, which is Kyle Martin, who's the director of engineering for American Outdoor Brands. Basically, he knows everything and has designed everything around that red BUBBA scale. So we're going to get into this and see, like I titled this, I said, is this the future of tournament fishing at every level? So we'll get into that right now. So we'll bring in Dave Washburn, MLF VP of Operations. Fair kind of breakdown of how we've gotten from this point from 2019 when FLW bought MLF to now, Dave.
Yep, you summed it up pretty good, except Major League Fishing bought FLW.
What did I say?
FLW bought Major League Fishing.
Oh, yeah. See, when you get old and you've done it, it's hard to, I get it. Major League Fishing bought FLW in 19. This is something, Dave, that I would imagine there's been a ton of meetings about behind the scenes logistics wise when you guys went to catchway release in a game where a dude is out in a boat by himself for 8 hours without anybody else watching. How can you take that format and translate it beyond the marshals, beyond the referees, beyond the top level, beyond the cameras to make it applicable and relatable to the thousands of people who fish on a weekend basis?
Yeah, well, you said it yourself. You kind of toyed with it back in 2019 and you saw the potential, and it's a pretty exciting way to fish. And what we've seen at the Bass Pro Tour is it really is. It changes the game from the angler's perspective to have that live scoring, to know where you're at in the standings, at any time. And so, the challenge for us was how do you translate that to everybody and let them do it. And that's where our partners at BUBBA came in. With the technology is ever evolving and the ability to do live scoring, it's like Apple. It just works. You don't have to. There's not a 6-step process anymore. You launch the tournament, you weigh your fish, and it hits ScoreTracker. And that can either be a private event like you and your buddies, or it can be a public event where fans from any organization can watch those scores live. And as technology continues to evolve, video will be part of that. And we're really excited about where this is going. And it's been a dream of our president, Boyd Duckett, since Major League Fishing started, take this format to the masses, and we're finally there.
We had Boyd on last year to talk. It was like his first time on BTL in like 5 years to talk about the changes and the update for MLF. He was going to be on today also, but Boyd no longer fish on the BPT, currently on the Invitationals, practicing at the final Invitational stop on the St. Lawrence River. So that's why he's not on today. But real quick, you jumped right to the meat of it, Dave. But I want to go back to that. Were you part of that where they said, hey, we're going to do a catchway release? Was that like part of your job to figure out how the hell you guys were going to do that in the first couple of years?
Well, I'm good at listening. And early on after the acquisition, we knew this was Boyd's dream. This was, how do you take this to the masses? And, talking with him and learning, frankly, the false starts that they've had. They started down several different paths to make this reality. It was always in the back of my mind. And then at ICAST, when I saw the BUBBA scale that they introduced, that I was like, this is the partner to make this happen. This is the technology, and this is the group that we can work with to bring this and make it a reality. And so I not necessarily was asked to do it. I grabbed onto it because I'm excited about this project.
Perfect transition here to bring in Kyle Martin, the director of engineering for BUBBA. Kyle, thanks for jumping on BTL this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I remember BUBBA was always the fillet knife that I always wanted but never ended up getting. I was like an old school fillet guy. I had the Rapala with the with that tan leather cover and the knife, and I'd sharpen it and stuff. And then one of my buddies got one, and then one of my other buddies got one, and then I finally put it on the Christmas wish list, and I got one. But you're kind of responsible and kind of led the charge there on the development of, like I said, I'm holding up the lowest version of it, but it still works really damn good. The version of this scale that is now, I was telling Dave when I got this, like in every serious tournament angler's boat, it seems.
Yeah, it's the official scale of Major League Fishing. That's our Pro Series Smart Fish scale.
Talk about like what year did the first kind of BUBBA scale hit the market? And then that was kind of between you and Dave at you said one of the iCasts where you were like, hey, like this might be something that MLF would be interested in.
Yeah, I'll probably get the year wrong. I think that was 22 maybe.
Okay.
That we put forth the Pro Series Smart Fish scale. And, what we were trying to do is just put a scale that was just feature rich. And there's already fish scales on the market, but when we kind of looked at what was out there, they kind of just stopped at weighing a fish. And what we wanted to do was, have a scale that was fun to use and that was connected. So like you said, you don't have to take a picture of your scale or write down the weights. You can just have that connected to our mobile app and log weights automatically. And I think that was kind of the point. We're trying to tell that story that Dave, we got your attention and started talking about how this could apply to their organization.
Yep.
One of the cool things about this scale now, correct me if I'm wrong. So in the past, you've seen like reweigh, multiple reweigh again after that. It might be an ounce different. You've got a fish that maybe wasn't ready to be landed, who's pretty floppy. So you're and that. One of the crazy things about the BUBBA is it locks. So the way I understand it, Kyle, and I'll say this, I have no association with BUBBA scale whatsoever. This is just stuff that I've always wanted to know and talk about and have the opportunity now. So zero sponsor relation whatsoever in this, but this thing, and was this like part of your design? Like how does it accurately weigh even when you have fairly flippy floppy fish and then you weigh it 3 or 4 times and it's the same? The way one of the dudes explained it to me is it takes like tens of thousands of weights all at once and then averages it out, and that's how you get a lock on the scale that makes it so accurate.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Yeah, so I can't give you too many details, but we do have a proprietary auto lock algorithm, and what you described is pretty close. It's continually looking at the weight that's on the scale and trying to make a prediction of what that weight's going to settle to. And so you'll notice when you weigh a fish, it takes a little while for the auto lock to start. Once that starts, then it's making sure that weight is accurate. And so it gives it a couple seconds to settle. And as long as nothing changes in that time period, you'll get the auto lock. And, you probably have seen firsthand, it's pretty quick and really accurate.
Yeah. Is that one of the things that kind of drew you to that scale for MLF to kind of say, hey, this might be the future of our catchway release format once you kind of understood how that worked behind the scenes, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're familiar with the Bass Pro Tour, the anglers got these big boxes on the back of their boat, right? That's our stat units that we use to power ScoreTracker. And when I first saw the scale in 2022, I was like, BUBBA has taken all that stuff that we need to make ScoreTracker work, and they've shrunk it down into a handheld scale that will do all that same stuff. And the accuracy, Kyle's pretty modest. I mean, this scale is incredibly accurate. And before we made it the official scale of the Bass Pro Tour in 23, if you think back, we used it on the invitationals, right? It was an unofficial weight at that time. But we've tested, this is the most tested scale in history, over 60,000 hours of testing on it. And we'd go back, early on in that testing, we say, hey, Kyle, here's some things that we're noticing. And this is where the mad scientist comes in. It's like, oh yeah, no, we can address that, and pushes out a firmware update. There's no other scale on the market that you can push out a software update over the internet and change the performance of it. So early on, we noticed that at the TWIs, the guys would use the scale, and on their own, the phrase became "Bubba, don't lie," because that fish would weigh the exact same when it hit our desktop scale. And so there for a season, it was my favorite thing to hear. Bubba don't lie. And that's right. The scale is incredibly accurate. And they've built in technologies. We ask them, we need to make sure that the officials hold the scale the exact same way every time. And if we take this to the masses, we need to make sure people hold the scale the exact same way every time. So they built in a leveler indicator. So you got a bubble level built into the scale. When that's centered, that scale is held the same way every time. So it's been a joy to work with the BUBBA team and Kyle, and we haven't run an idea past him yet. He hasn't been able to do.
Kyle, when you kind of started working on this scale, are you in the tournament fishing world? Do you understand how that works? Was that kind of designed with high level, accurate, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line in mind, or were you just trying to create a scale where a dude could go catch a striper in the ocean and know exactly how much it weighed?
Yeah, so I'm not a tournament fisherman, but I fish recreationally. But within our organization, we do have that, and so I'm getting a little too much credit here. It's the development of this scale and really all of our products is a team effort. Mm-hmm. And what you're seeing is the product of a lot of voices that within our organization. People that are tournament fishermen and are really passionate about this being the best scale for that application, to the people who are just recreational that just want some really cool tech that they can take out and have the ability to log weights to their app and share that with their friends. And so it's really we got that input early on, and we took it to heart. And then once we got involved with Major League Fishing, like Dave said, they weren't shy about telling us, hey, this doesn't really work for us. We really need this feature. Here's something you guys didn't think about that applies to a pro level tournament. And our team's agile enough to just go ahead and make those updates on the fly.
Talking with Dave Washburn, MLF VP of Operations, as well as Kyle Martin, Director of Engineering for American Outdoor Brands. I'm just going to say BUBBA from now on. That's the parent company there for BUBBA. And we're working our way up to this announcement that came out on July 14th, the ScoreTracker live tournament platform. But I love the backstory of it that kind of leads to this. Dave, I got a question for you. I'm a tournament angler. Albeit at times not a very good one, but occasionally I catch fish that I need to put on a scale and cull out. Like I said, you've been here since 1999. Talk about the angler feedback, the hesitation, or the willingness to jump on a brand new format to where you're talking about a Red Crest win for $300,000, qualification to requalify for the tour that you depend on to feed your family on, to come down to a guy in a striped shirt holding a scale on the boat, knowing that 1 ounce could be the difference between set for the next 5 years and close but no cigar, and now you're back to your landscaping job.
Yeah, well, I think it really is. The format was brand new. It seems like it's been around forever, but 5 years ago, right? And this was a new concept. And having the officials in the boat at the Bass Pro Tour was markedly different than any other format or circuit out there. So you have an official right there to provide oversight. But people's trust in technology, and technology is evolving, and along with that is the trust that you can produce accurate rates or weights, and we've shown that, particularly with the BUBBA scale, that it matched almost identically in all of our testing, our bench scale, if you will. And to some degree, there's a degree of, what's a drop of water weigh when you're on the desktop scale versus not, And back in the day, we did in-water weigh-ins. Boy,
those were wild.
That was stressful because we were all back there watching, did any water splash out of the tank? And you got to re-weigh and try to explain that to people that, no, we know what the water weighs, we know what the tank weighs, the fish go in there, the difference is the weight. But people trusted that too, right? Because there was a degree of checks and balances. And we're just seeing the evolution of that to a format that is thrilling because it's truly live, and live sporting events are, all the rage for good reason. And let's face it, there's a conservation aspect here. We all do all reputable tournament organizations do a great job taking care of their fish, but there is no question that it's not as good as immediate releasing it.
All right, let's get to this press release then. I want to read just the opening of it and then let you guys comment on it. It is the BUBBA and Major League Fishing to launch ScoreTracker Live tournament platform to all anglers and organizations beginning in spring of 2026. And then just one line of it. Partnered to bring seamless tournament hosting capability and the thrill of live scoring to anglers, organizers, and fans everywhere by integrating the MLF SCORETRACKER technology into the BUBBA app to create ScoreTracker Live. So all you need is a cell phone and a BUBBA scale, and you can fish a tournament with however many people, exactly like when you log on to majorleaguefishing.com and are watching the live coverage, and Jacob Wheeler, DC, all those guys doing the exact same thing. This is the exact same platform now. Did I get that right?
You did.
Yep.
Okay, explain how it works then, like technology wise. So like me, I'm Matt, like I know how like all this stuff like sets up and works, but like for the average everyday weekend guy, how does this benefit them then?
Well, I'll jump in, Kyle, and you can add some color to it. You know, we wanted to take that experience, you know, just like the release said, and make it available to everyone. So, you know, not every tournament organizer out there has a membership services staff like we do to handle entries, or a web platform to process transactions. And so we looked at it from, you know, how do we empower people to run their own tournaments? How do we give the Tuesday nighter the same thrill as a Bass Pro Tour event? And we came up with, you know, here's our wish list, you know, Bubba, and you and your team, can you make it where it's seamless and easy for someone to set up an event and run it, whatever format they want, 5 fish, every fish counts, you know, big bass tournaments, and make that an easy and seamless experience where then they can invite just their friends if they want to, or do they want to run a public event? Do they want to have a payout that they collect entry fees and then process those payments and run a real circuit with entry fees and payouts? And that's what we have here. And it's a seamless way for just anyone that wants to run a tournament to do so. And from the angler perspective, you log in, like the tournament organizer can send you an invite, or you can go to scoretrackerlive.com and just find events that are listed there and pick the event that you want to enter. It all depends on how the organizers set it up. And, you know, it's seamless. Once you've done that, you launch your app, you get out your scale, and you're weighing fish, and your scores are hitting the ScoreTracker Live. So we think we're empowering a lot of people to really elevate their tournament experience.
Biggest challenges of making this a reality, Kyle?
Yeah. You know, honestly, it's just getting an understanding of what everybody wants to do, making sure that we covered every rule, you know, every single thing that an organizer might want to present, because our goal for the organizers to make it, you know, easy to create an event and share that with people. And then I think the secondary is capturing, you know, the excitement of a live scoring tournament and enabling that for anybody. So we put a lot of thought into, you know, how do we handle notifications, and how can we make it so fans can follow along. And so, you know, when you're actively in a tournament, whether you're actually participating in it as an angler or you're just following along, you know, maybe your family or friends at home, you tell them you're fishing this tournament and they want to follow along. We've got, you know, live leaderboards. When you catch a fish, they'll get a notification. So will your competitors. You know, the people you're competing against are going to know you just caught a fish. You just took first place, and you know, it's going to create that excitement for everybody, both anglers and fans.
One of the things that I noticed on this too is you can also show this. You can also select your, I guess, style. So if you're a traditional 5-fish guy, it'll automatically cull your 5 biggest fish, I assume. If you wanted to do a catch-away release, every fish counts. You could do a specific weight. You can make it public. You can make it private. So this just isn't, I mean, this isn't MLF trying to push every fish catch-away. You can do whatever style, however many fish, whatever you want on this app.
Yep, you can do that. It's not even limited to just weight. You can even do length-based tournaments.
Oh, really?
Choose to. Yep.
Interesting. My next question then, and I see this in the instant feedback a little bit, is you have to be on a lake. So like the BPT guys, they got the box in the back. They've got good signal. I mean, yeah, not everybody's going to be able to put that in the back. Is this something that you have to have a decent Wi-Fi signal, or how does this work to ensure that everybody's hooked up on this? Like, you know, I assume everyone has to have a smartphone. You can't have, you know, Jimmy with the old flip phone from 1998 that's trying to do this, right?
Right. Yeah, you do need to have you know, some connectivity, and you need to be running the BUBBA app on your smartphone. For live scoring, you're going to have a pretty reliable signal. If you don't have a reliable signal, we're going to, you know, cache some of your catches offline, and they'll pop up later when you do get back in service. So you know, we'll try to support as many people as possible, but yeah, that connection is going to be necessary.
Okay, that's fair. And then Dave, how does MLF make money off of this? Like, there has to be, like, is there a hosting fee? Is there an entry for each guy? Like, do you have to have a subscription to have it? Like, how does that work? Because I mean, there's got to be like a whiffum for you in this thing.
Yeah, well, out of the gate, you know, we think we're solving a lot of problems for organizers and, you know, providing a great experience for fans and participants. So it'll be less than $5 a day per angler to participate in a live scoring event.
Okay.
And, you know, it's like technology. That price point most likely, you know, could fall as it gets mass adoption, but out of the gate, it'll be around $5.
Okay. And then you can do this from 2 up to how many different angles? Like, how many? What's your maximum amount? Like, could you do, let's say, a team series that has 250 boats? I mean, is it capable of holding that many?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a soft limit that's over 250.
Oh, wow. I guess the next question would be then accuracy and honesty in this. Like I said, you got a lot of guys that are out there by themselves. They're fishing it for 8 hours. I hear a lot of guys that say, hey, if I'm going to get my butt kicked, I want to see those suckers flopping around, and I want to see the dude who brought in the five pounders so I can visually see what I wasn't able to catch, what he was able to catch. I'll let you answer that, Dave. First thing, I kind of have an idea for. It's kind of a leading question on that. I mean, there's a lot of technology, cameras, GoPros, things that you can run, that you can prove on it. But to me, and this is just a deal where if someone's going to cheat, they're going to cheat regardless.
Well, and Matt, that's it really. You know, there's a lot of ways to go at that. At the Bass Pro Tour, we have officials in the boat, so the organizers can always put officials in the boat. If they don't want to do that, you know, how do operators of current team tournaments, how do they police that there's no shenanigans going on? Well, probably polygraphs. That's another option, right? Polygraphs. In a boater co-angler format, you have kind of that official dynamic because you're randomly paired and you kind of police each other. So there's lots of different ways to go about that currently based on their organizer's preference and the tolerance of their audience, right? But yeah, you know, at the invitationals, we have Vosker cameras in every boat, so we can remotely monitor through those Vosker cameras, and that's been very well received. And you know, this is just phase one. We've thought of a lot of different ways to enhance this and provide layers of security. And you know, I don't know how far. Kyle probably wants me to stop talking before I go too far down the road, but there are lots of options coming down the road that really make it bulletproof.
Anything to add to that, Kyle?
Yeah, I think Dave put it right. The best way to put it is this is definitely something that we're aware of and actively working on. But he's right. I'm going to leave it right there.
Okay.
I knew it. I want to say it, Kyle, but we'll wait.
Okay.
All right. You mentioned something. Could be living under a rock here. So I know every invitationals angler has to have a functioning running camera, like for during competition, correct?
We actually, the invitationals provide the camera. It's a Vosker camera. Yep.
So there's someone somewhere that can log into any camera at any time and watch a guy fish at any time.
Oh yeah, 100%. We have
I did not know. How did I not know this?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can log in and check. In fact, our tournament staff regularly does. We'll be like, hey, move that drink you set down in front of the camera. You got to move it. We can't see you on the front deck. So,
really? Yeah. And what are the odds at all? Like, what is your out of whatever 120 to 150 guys that they're all up and functioning? Like, they're pretty reliable. Like, it's not like, oh, we've got 30 down and 100 working.
No, they have been rock solid, and Vosker is another great partner that we work with. It doesn't tap into the power on the boat. It's got it's got a big battery capacity on it, and it's got a solar panel on top. And yeah, it's a different application than what the camera was designed for, but it's proven to be very robust. And we can monitor the battery level on the camera. And so if we're not getting a stream or the battery's not strong, we provide them with a replacement or we troubleshoot it. And so we have nearly 100% uptime all the time.
I was completely unaware of that. I don't know how I didn't know that. Another question here. This one's for Kyle. Like, what are guys going to have to buy a new Bubba? Does their current one work? I believe there's three different models of Bubba scales that I'm aware of. Like, what is an angler going to need to be able to compete in this format in the spring of 2026 scale wise? Yeah, so
any of our Bluetooth scales will work. There are three models. One of them does not have Bluetooth, so not that one. But the Pro Series Smart Fish Scale or the new Smart Fish Scale Lite. It is up to the tournament organizer. So, there's settings like the accelerometer that's in the Pro Series is not available on the Lite scale. So if you want to have best accuracy, make sure everybody's holding it correctly, the organizer could say, okay, only the official scale is allowed, but the Lite scale will work as well. And if you've already purchased one, they're going to work as soon as this goes live.
Very cool.
And Matt, to your question earlier about connectivity, we're working to introduce a new scale too with Bubba that would provide connectivity anywhere. We'll take the cell phone out of the equation and hit some satellites and make sure that you can get a weight anywhere in the world.
It sounds like you may have Elon involved in this game plan here. little Starlink action going on there. Very interesting. Anything that I haven't left out of this? Now, I'm assuming you guys have tested this, but this will be available spring of 2026 for anyone to do, but you rolled it out at ICAST this past year in July, but kind of 6-7 months until this is, or 8 months until this is available to the general public. Will you be doing like testing with different tournament organizations or different guys between then, just kind of like some behind the scenes testing just to work out the final kinks in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Like Dave said, we're already using this technology for BPT and TWI. We've got many hours, over 60,000 hours of testing. We're putting the finishing touches on the consumer touch points. So tournament organization, discovery, fan interface. We'll be testing that this fall into the winter, and then make sure everything's ready to go for the spring.
Okay, last and final, the big question, and I'll make Dave big here because it's definitely for him. All right, I've seen all this. This stuff is fantastic. It works good. But MLF at the top level is catch, weigh, release. Every fish counts. You have it. You have Tackle Warehouse. They're still bringing 5 fish into the scales, the same at the Toyotas, the BFL level. You're qualifying for a format you haven't fished under yet. To me, this is just me as a media guy, just making observations here. It appears to me like this might be the first step in standardizing MLF's format across the board in the coming years, to where utilizing, you mentioned the camera stuff and this technology and the scoring and all that. Is that, I know you can't probably go very far down that road. That's what's coming here. I mean, this is just a logical step by step to where invitationals, Toyotas are going to go to this system, catch, weigh, release.
Yeah, that's a fair question. And, I guess my answer to that is we're in the tournament business, right? We exist to run tournaments that people like to fish. And whether that be Every Fish Counts, which until now, no one's really had the opportunity other than the Bass Pro Tour to do that. But we do know that's a thrilling format because every angler that's ever fished it, they come off the water, that has changed the experience for them like they had never anticipated. So we know that once people have that opportunity to fish that format, we believe that will be the preference. And if it becomes a preference like we will believe, then we'll convert tournaments. But we're not going to force people in that direction. It'll be a natural progression. Consumer preference will dictate what the future holds, but we wholeheartedly believe in catch, weigh, immediate release, and the Every Fish Counts because of the angler experience at that level. And the fan reaction to that experience has just been just incredible. So it'll be a natural evolution. It'll be, we believe, everyone's preference in the future. But until that time, we're happy to run whatever format tournament you want to fish.
Anything else to add, Kyle, before I let you guys get on with you? I know it's the week after ICAST is always just a chaotic week. So for Joe to get you guys done, set up, and for you to give me the 45 minutes of your time 2 days after ICAST is over, I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I really just want to thank you. This is obviously something we're really passionate about, and it's really great to have the opportunity to talk about it.
Oh, I do have one more question for you,
okay.
Kyle. All right. So like on the BUBBA scale, you weigh it, you have like this thing that zeros it, right? But I see some guys, and I am guilty of this too. Some guys will zero it like with,
yeah,
I got to get big. This is the guy to ask, and this is everybody has one. Some guys will like have the fish on, and then they'll like zero it, and then they'll let it go, and they'll do it like that. Some guys will zero it with this hanging. I mean, this is like metal and plastic. This has to weigh. This thing weighs in hundreds of ounces. What is the proper way to zero your BUBBA scale while weighing a fish to make sure that like this clip and all that isn't part of the equation?
Yep. So ideally, you pick it up, you turn it on, it'll automatically zero. You don't want the fish or any other weight on it, just free hanging, and then you clip it on your fish, and you're done.
If you have a fish and you do that and zero it and then do it, that'll include this weight, won't it?
Yeah, it's going to include a little bit of weight.
Okay.
There's no way you'll be able to zero it that way.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I see guys doing that, and I'm like, dude, like you're dealing with a couple hundredths of an ounce here, and you zeroed it wrong. I think I just wanted to make sure I was right on that. On that front. All right, anything else, Dave, Kyle, before I let you guys go?
No, appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. This is, I know it's my favorite project, and I know it's Kyle's favorite project, and the whole team, like Kyle said, it is a team effort. And they have just a great group, and we meshed well early on. Both our team and the BUBBA team were, we're go-getters. We dream big, and we're not afraid to take risks and work to solve problems. And it's great to see this finally come to life.
I would also, Dave, like to have you on for an entire show. Like, the FLW thing's way in the past now, and you've been there since '99. Like I think we were joking before, like when you were there, they're still giving out spittoons for BFL wins. I would really love to have you on for an episode to talk about the late '90s and early 2000s. That kind of push that Erwin Jacobs made to really do some crazy stuff. Because as the VP of operations, like I'm sure you went through. I mean, we're talking like wild camera angles, live stuff, all the different styles of weigh-ins. Like there was a lot of experimentation that went on for about a 10 or 15 year period there. I don't know how freely you can speak on that, but if that's something you're interested in, I'd love to get you on kind of during the off season to maybe go down that path a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. We had the first ever live network telecast on Fox of a bass tournament, and talk about how technology changed. We had to set up microwave towers around the lake to be able to get a signal out.
And wasn't Jerry McInnes part of that?
Yeah, I mean, early on.
That's what people do.
Yeah, no, it's it's a big industry, but it's also a close knit industry, and we've all worked together at some point around. I see the Wheaties box in the background there on your shelf. You know,
Yep.
Anglers on the Wheaties box and the Kellogg's box. So yeah, anytime you want to reminisce about that, I'm happy to join you.
All right, and then when all the rest of the stuff comes out too, I'd like to invite Kyle back on as technology continues to improve. Oh,
Yeah, that'd be
imagine that
great.
technology improving our experience on the water. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Matt.
you.
All right, there you go. That is Kyle Martin, Dave Washburn. Like I said, it is not an easy thing to get back in the studio and get everything, especially after a long week at ICAST, but something cool over at MLF. And I will say this, I saw a couple of notes on the message board and stuff when Bass comes out with all of their stuff too. Also offer Bass the opportunity to come on, talk about some of their new things. I know they've got some stuff with the Roku. I don't know. I know that in my room now I can like turn it on and there's fishing all the time. So that's cool. We got a lot to talk about. I've got the series, the Elite Series, the BPT schedule. Best on Tour did a great job of combining those schedules. We'll take a look at that. We'll look at the invitational schedule, the points that are on the line for that, and a number of other things. But first, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, more Bass Talk Live Tuesday, July 27th. It's already the end of July. That's wild. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's two best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit ProBassAdventures.com or email ProBassAdventures@gmail.com. The official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook. World's finest hook.
Yamagatsu, world's finest hook.
All right, welcome back, BTL, on a Tuesday. I do want to give a big shout out to Joe Pogger for he's a MLF media head of media. I'm not exactly sure what his title is, but always goes above and beyond to make sure that I get the right people on the right show when I call. Great asset to the MLF organization over there. Is Joe Pogger also serves on the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame board of directors. Really good dude. So shout out to Joe on that. Also Dave and Kyle. It's an interesting concept. I still struggle with wrapping my head around. It's different. Here's where I just stand in it personally. So it's different for me. Right now, if I'm going out against and fishing against my buddies, and we're weighing them and we're bringing them in. We're not going to let anybody into that group who we think is going to go out there, hold his hand down, hit it, and say, "Look, I caught 3 7-pounders," and take the pot. You're fishing against guys you trust. You start getting into those bigger tournaments. You don't know everybody. A couple shady characters with maybe some questionable past that are in it. You have a team that comes in or a guy that comes in and just decimates the field, which happens 100% legally, 100% above the board. But outside of the BPT, where there are cameras and there's 65 of them and people watching and everything, you can stick around at the weigh and visually see the fish that kicked your ass, which granted, they could be in cages, tied up, brought in. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can be nefarious if you want to. But it appears, and just talking with Kyle and Dave, this is kind of the first step into trying to legitimize that to where guys like me, guys who work hard, who spend their disposable income in a tournament. Remember, this whole thing started with Ray Scott, who, there were tournaments before BASS, but Ray was the first one who said, "Hey, come to Beaver Lake and we're going to make sure that everything that hits the dial scale was caught today on Beaver Lake by an angler who did it legally." And the growth of tournament fishing with bass, as BASS, Bass Angler Sportsman Society, evolved, was your hard-earned money was fairly going to get taken from you, or you were fairly going to win other guys' hard-earned money. So I really am intrigued, because I'm starting for the first time in my mind to see the puzzle pieces kind of coming together, where I would be confident in competing in a tournament against people that I don't know, and losing to them. So I know there's a bunch of other stuff. I think there's a bunch of different apps out there. I know that the kayak world has really dialed this in, just like there has been in bass fishing in the big boat era. There's been issues with the kayak, with the measuring and the taking the pictures and the uploading. There's all sorts of ways that they do it with different badges and timestamps and things to show that fish was caught at that time, and the way that they measure the boards and all sorts of things like that. This is a future, and I think it's here. Something that's also going to happen in the future is there's going to be a 2026 schedule for both the Bassmaster Elite Series and the BPT. Like I said earlier, Dave Rush and I will have a deeper dive on that on Best on Tour this week that is going to come out later today. But I did have a handy comparable schedule that was put together by Best on Tour, the Bass Pro Tour schedule, plus the Elite Series schedule. There it is, right there. Right off the hopper, we've seen a lot of overlapping major events. BPTs on top of Elite Series, Red Crest on top of Elite Series. There doesn't seem, this is just my opinion, right now there doesn't seem to be as much animosity between the two leagues about scheduling on top of each other. I personally believe for a while there was an attempt to try to schedule on top of each other. For a number of years there, we've seen Ish do it. We've seen Casey Ashley do it. We've seen a number of different guys do it where they're fishing both tours. Now it seems like a lot of the Elite Series guys are fishing the NPFL, not available with a lot of the BPT guys because, as we've seen what Zach Burge has done, and one of them, he cashed a check, I think, even in it, but a lot of BPTs, depending on how far you fish, overlap with the NPFLs. But right off the bat, I notice obviously the Tom Bigby and OHIV on March 26th through 29th, they're on top of each other. The Arkansas River and 2026 Red Crest are on top of each other. But I'm looking down the list, and other than that, a very diverse schedule on both fronts with not a lot of overlapping tournaments. Now, we've had schedulers from FLW and MLF, and we've had guys who do the scheduling for Bass on the show. This is a dicey thing to do because you have to keep in mind you have commitments to cities. These cities, Chamber of Commerce's, lakes, counties, states pay to have the organizations come, which is how they turn a profit on or they don't. You know, we're talking rooms, we're talking facilities, food, all that type of stuff. It varies on how much it is based on, you know, a Toyota series all the way up to an Elite Series or BPT or Opens, the whole 9 yards. Then you have all sorts of other schedules. So you have all of your major team tournaments that are scheduled throughout the weekend on it. You have BFLs, you have 750 boat high school tournaments, you have all of your collegiate events at 3 different colleges with Bass, the collegiate Bass, the MLF college series, multiple high schools. You have Bass, you have MLF, you have independent, you have Toyotas, you have BFLs, you have Opens, you have TBFs, you have Federation or Bass Nation stuff. So much stuff is scheduled on top of each other to be able to navigate and fit it in and find the different bodies of water for the top level right there. I think both of these organizations did a fantastic job of coming out with fisheries that have interest, a mix of familiarity and new. They're both starting early in the year on Gunnersville, but I mean, you see Lake Martin on there on the Elite Series, Lake Whitney and Waco in Texas. That's a new big one. You have the Tom Bigby Waterway in Mississippi, which is going to be an absolute grinder. The Elites are trying to go back to the Arkansas River in April, 50-50 on whether the water is even you're going to be fishable. If it is, that's a great time to go to the river. OHIV in March. I love the earlier the better on OHIV. There's a chance we might be able to see some of those giant OHIV bass on that. A really badass tournament that returns to its old FLW roots. We talked a lot about FLW today. Is the Beaver Lake tournament, April 30th through May 3rd, Beaver Lake, Arkansas. Man, go back to the Matt Airy, the Mark Pax, the Brian Thrifts, the Shake. That's kind of the shaky head, Jason Christie. Like, look at the history of the FLW tour on Beaver Lake, Arkansas. Of course, their association with Walmart that's based right there in Rogers, Arkansas. They would pack that place for the old FLW tournaments. It was an annual stop. For the last 5 years, we've always wanted to see a major tournament go back to Beaver Lake. It's a great time for that. A couple slugfests in Lake Murray and Santee Cooper for the Elite Series after that. They're doing heavy hitters on Orange Lake for the BPT this year. That's going to be huge. Another return to the Elite Series to the Pascatank. And then you get your dose of Grand Lake, which is pretty normal on the schedule for the BPT. And none of these are on top of each other. You can watch all these live, and then Erie, Champlain, and St. Lawrence between the two. BPT goes to Erie and then Champlain and the St. Lawrence, which is kind of a classic ending for the Elite Series. So I don't hate any of those schedules. I actually kind of like all those schedules. So I think that's about all we got for today. We got some cool shows that are lined up. Frank's got a really good show lined up for Thursday. Going to talk about catching bass in hot water, a big heat wave that is going through the central part of the United States right now. You dump your boat on the water, you get to the bank, it's at 83 to 88 degree water temp. How do you go about catching those lethargic fish? Frank is going to talk about that. And then next Tuesday, returning to BTL, Rick Pierce from Bass Cap Boats is going to be on. He's been to like every ICAST in the history of mankind. I say that in a positive way. He's going to come on to talk about his thoughts on the industry, what he saw, and what he sees coming down the pipeline. But a little bit of a futuristic show today. I enjoyed it. Anyway, that's all we got for today. Same time, same place tomorrow. We'll talk to everybody then. See ya.